Welcome to Sissygram Spicy Story Channel. If you like my voice, then hit the like button and do subscribe our channel for regular updates. Today I come up with whole new content of story. So, now let's start the story. It was a typical stay afternoon. The sun shone brightly, its golden rays streaming through the windows. But inside the house, the atmosphere was far from calm. My heart pounded in my chest, faster than ever before, as the weight of what was happening began to sink in. I stood frozen, my mind racing, as my husband appeared at the doorway. His wide, disbelieving eyes met mine, and I knew the life we'd built was about to shatter. He had caught me, earned it, in a moment I never thought I'd find myself in, not in a million years. There I was, in our bedroom, with two men. The air between us was thick with tension, guilt, and a darkness I could no longer deny. What had been meant as a secret, something hidden, had exploded into the open with devastating force. It had all started so innocently, or at least that's what I told myself. My husband and I had been married for 8 years. Like any long-term relationship, we'd had our ups and downs. But in recent years, the downs seemed to outweigh the ups. He'd become distant, consumed by his work. And I felt more alone than I'd ever thought possible. We barely talked, and when we did, it was about mundane things. Bills, schedules, groceries. The connection that once burned so brightly between us had dimmed to an unrecognizable flicker. And then I met them. I hadn't been looking for trouble, but somehow trouble found me. It began with harmless conversations, compliments that reignited something in me, attention I hadn't felt in years. They were younger than my husband, full energy and excitement. And for the first time in a long time, I felt alive again. I felt seen. Little by little, I let my guard down. What started as innocent flirtation soon spiraled into something far more dangerous. I never meant for it to go this far. Maybe that's what all cheaters tell themselves, a weak excuse to justify their actions, but it's true. One thing led to another, and before I knew it, I was sneaking around, arranging secret meetings, and taking risks I never thought I would. The thrill of it all, the excitement, the feeling of being wanted was intoxicating. It was like a drug, and I was hooked. That day, I invited them over, believing my husband would be at work as usual. It seemed safe, a chance to indulge in my secret life without consequence. But life doesn't work that way. We were in the bedroom, and things had already gone too far when I heard the unmistakable sound of the front door opening. Panic surged through me, but it was too late. My husband had come home early, and there was no escape. He stood in the doorway, his face a mixture of shock, confusion, and anger. His eyes scanned the scene before him, struggling to make sense of the incomprehensible. The look in his eyes will haunt me forever. He didn't say a word at first, just stood there, frozen, staring at me. The two boys, because that's what they were, barely out of their 20s, were as stunned as I was. They scrambled to gather their clothes, clearly terrified of what might happen next. I could see the fear in their eyes, the realization that their reckless fun had spiraled into something far more serious. I wanted to say something, to explain, to apologize, to say anything, but the words wouldn't come. My throat felt like it had closed up, and my mind raced with thoughts of how to fix the unfixable. How could I ever explain this? How could I make it right? The truth was, I couldn't. There were no words, no excuses that would ever make this okay. Finally, he spoke. "What is this?" His voice was low and calm, but the weight of his disappointment cut through me like a knife. That calmness terrified me more than if he'd screamed. It was the calm of someone who had already given up, who knew there was nothing left to salvage. I tried to respond, to offer some explanation that I'd been lonely, that I missed how things used to be, but the words sounded hollow even to me. How could I justify such a betrayal? Nothing I said could undo the damage I had done. He turned to the two boys and told them to leave. They didn't argue. They grabbed their things and left as quickly as they could, leaving behind a suffocating silence. And then it was just the two of us, standing in the wreckage of our marriage. I tried to apologize, but I'm sorry felt meaningless. I could see the pain in his eyes, the disbelief that the woman he had loved and trusted could betray him so completely. The weight of his sadness was unbearable. He didn't shout or rage. He didn't have to. His silence was worse than any anger could have been. Finally, he spoke again, his voice still calm but filled with finality. Why? That one word broke me. Why had I done this? Why had I risked everything we had built together for something so fleeting, so meaningless? I had no answer, at least not one that made any sense. I mumbled something about loneliness and the distance between us. But even as I did, I knew how empty it sounded. Nothing could justify what I had done. He didn't say much after that. He simply turned and walked out, leaving me alone with my guilt and the unbearable silence. I wanted to run after him, to beg for his forgiveness, but I knew it was too late. Some things, once broken, can never be repaired. The hours that followed were a blur. I sat on the edge of the bed, replaying everything over and over in my mind, wondering how I had let things get so out of control. I felt sick, disgusted with myself. I had betrayed the man who had stood by me through everything, the man who had loved me, and for what? A moment of excitement, a brief thrill that had now turned into a nightmare. That night, he didn't come home. I didn't know. And part of me was too afraid to find out. Days passed, and the house felt emptier than ever. A constant reminder of the life I had destroyed. Then the papers came, divorce papers. There was no dramatic confrontation, no tearful goodbye. Just a cold, legal document that signaled the end of our marriage. I signed them, knowing I had no one to blame but myself. It's been months since that day, but the pain hasn't gone away. I still think about him every day, about what we had, and how I threw it all away. I wonder if he's found someone new, someone who will treat him better than I did. He deserves that, and I hope he finds it. As for me, I've learned my lesson, though it came at the highest possible cost. There's no excuse for what I did, no way to make it right. I can only move forward, carrying the weight of my mistakes with me, hoping that one day I'll find a way to forgive myself, even if he never can. Time has helped me reflect. Therapy has helped me understand why I made the choices I did. I've realized that seeking validation from others, instead of facing my problems head-on, only led me further down a destructive path. I betrayed not just my husband, but also myself and the values I thought I stood for. I don't know if I'll ever fully forgive myself, but I'm working on it. I've learned that while I can't change the past, I can shape my future. And as I rebuild my life, I hold on to the hope that I can become a better person, someone worthy of trust, loyalty, and love. In the end, life is about the choices we make. I made terrible ones, but I'm choosing now to live differently. It's a long road, but it's one I'm determined to walk. This is where the story wraps up. Share your thoughts in the comments below. For more stories like this, be sure to subscribe to my channel. I'll talk to you soon. See you next time.